Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lanice. I am a registered nurse and I do these cool little nursing videos. But as you can see, I have recently started also doing lifestyle vlogs, and I will also start getting into mental health. So those are the things that I do here on this channel. I want to say thank you for tuning into this video. If you are new here, please like and subscribe to my channel. Your girl is trying to boost up these subbies, y'all. I have made it to 1,000, so goal number 1 is done. So 5,000 is the next goal, and I'm just asking if you haven't already subscribed to my channel that you please subscribe. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for tuning in to another video. I really appreciate you appreciating my content and choosing to tune into another video. So I will get straight to it. Not really quite sure what I'm going to title this video, but it will be talking about why I was released from my last contract, without trying to go into too many details, because being that it did have something to do with other patients, I do not want to violate any type of privacy of the patients. So as you guys are aware, like I said, I'm a travel nurse, and I have been traveling since August of 2021. I was recently on a local travel assignment in North Carolina at a facility, and I started that one the very first week of January. So what I want to discuss here basically are things to look out for whenever it comes to safety in your nursing license whenever you're doing these travel nurse assignments. To give you a little bit of background on myself, I got my LPN in 2014, and then I graduated and got my RN in 2020. So I've been working in healthcare since 2014, but I am still a pretty new nurse when it comes to the hospital setting, because I've only been an RN for about 1.5 years now, a little bit over 1.5 years. And I did start traveling at my 1 year mark last year. While working as an RN, I only had experience in a very small hospital. I did work at a large hospital for part of my residency. For about 12 weeks of my residency, I worked at a large hospital, but then after that I transitioned into a smaller hospital on a cardiac unit, and I worked there until I decided to go and travel in August of 2021. So I worked there for a little less than 1 year in the smaller hospital. However, that's what I had grew accustomed to. Now, whenever it comes to the saying, you don't know what you don't know, that's very, very true whenever it comes to nursing, because I feel like right now, a lot of us, because the money is so good, now the money is starting to actually go down now that they're actually getting a hold of COVID, or just not caring about it anymore, as much anymore. However, because the pay is very good, a lot of us new nurses are eager to travel, but a lot of these facilities are asking that you have 2 years of experience, or at least 18 months of RN acute care experience, for a very good reason. And so when I say you don't know what you don't know, it's because things happen and you just don't know as a nurse what you have not seen. So trying to go into telling you why my recent contract was canceled without telling you the patient's business, I want to let you know that one thing that you need to know as a new travel nurse, or a new nurse in general, is if something doesn't seem right, or it doesn't feel comfortable, or anything, always listen to your gut. Your gut is going to be your number one determining factor whenever it comes to a lot of decisions that you're going to make as a nurse, and that requires a lot of confidence also. So if you don't trust your gut yet, and you're not confident in your decisions and your critical thinking, your level of critical thinking yet, do not rush to travel, because once you get out there, honey, it's a whole nother ball game. You're going to see things that you haven't seen before. You're going to be put in situations that you had never been put in, situations you have never been put in before. Let me get my notes out, because I don't really want to skip anything, and I kind of want to stay on task here. So the first thing that I want you guys to always ask whenever something doesn't feel right and you're on these travel assignments, or even if you're just at your own home facility, is is this patient appropriate for the floor? Because the number one reason or safety reason that my last contract was ended was because I had a patient that, in my opinion, I should not have had. And if I should not have had this patient, if I did have this patient, I would actually need a little bit more extra care from the charge nurse, or a little bit more direction from the charge nurse, which I did not get at all. So the situation was, like I said, I've been working on a cardiac unit. The floor that I was working on was a cardiac PCU floor. First things first, the first thing that made my dog is scratching at the door, y'all. Sorry. The first thing that made my gut go, whenever I was interviewing for this assignment was the way that the nurse manager interacted with me. Whenever you're putting out applications to these travel assignments, when your recruiter sends out your packet to these travel assignments to the nurse managers or whoever decides, which nurses they're going to bring into the hospital, whoever does the interviewing. They send the packet out to that person, and the way that it's been done for me for these assignments is the nurse manager of the floor that you're a prospect of will call you and do kind of a phone interview. So in January, I actually got 2 offers. The other offer was at a hospital that on Facebook, I had read nothing but terrible things about this hospital. And on top of that, this hospital was a little bit further than my home, and I didn't know anybody in the area, so it just wasn't a good fit. Whereas the hospital that I chose was a better fit for as far as distance and having a place to stay, lodging. So that's why I chose this hospital overall, because the pay was the exact same, just about. But the thing was that the hospital that was further away, the person that interviewed me was so friendly. They were able to give me details on every question I had. This person was able to answer. They were very friendly. It was a very good conversation. Whereas the floor that I chose, when I had a conversation with the nurse manager, the very first inkling I got that this might not be a good fit was the manager. The only thing she did was say, "Hey, are you able to do this, and this?" And I said, yes, no, kind of, sort of. And it was the impression that she had left on me was very judge and gavel, very straight to the point, which is fine. There are some people like that, but she wasn't very personable. And you have to take that into account when you're going to be working for this person. Is this person's personality a good fit for my personality? Those are things that you have to know that, okay? So that was the first thing, the first hunch I got, that maybe this wasn't the best floor for me, on top of the fact that it was a PCU floor. And I was, I was kind of comfortable and uncomfortable with going onto a PCU floor at a level 1 trauma center that's also a teaching facility, because again, the hospital that I came for was only a level 3 trauma. It was not a teaching facility. And it was a part of a large hospital system, but that particular hospital again was a very small hospital. Very different scenario over here. So that was the first inkling. The second inkling again was it was PCU, and I was feeling a little uncomfortable about that. Okay. So then things started going awry whenever, probably about the end of January, I had a patient, again, like I said, I work on a cardiac unit, who was pregnant. And I had a bad feeling the way things were going that night while I was working. However, I kind of just sucked it up because I didn't want to be the nurse that, complains, because on my very first assignment, I was doing a lot of complaining, y'all. I'm not going to lie, because that was hell. That assignment was hell. So I did a lot of complaining, and that kind of gave people a bad impression of me. So I said, I'm going to take what I learned on this first assignment, and I'm going to have a good attitude. I'm going to stay positive. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to do what they asked me to do for my 12 hours, keep my patients alive, do the best I can do, and leave in the morning and mind my business and not complain. That was my motto. So when I got put in this situation where, this patient that really shouldn't have not been on this floor, or should have not been on this floor with some extra care, when I got this patient, I didn't really complain. I just kind of tried to handle this patient the same way I handle all the other 5 of my patients. So things went awry with this patient, and the patient didn't pass away or anything. The patient's totally fine. The patient is safe herself, like she's safe. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. However, things just weren't handled the way the hospital would have liked for things to have been handled. Another thing you guys have to understand is when you're going to these hospitals, especially these big hospitals, level 1 with all these credentialings and stuff, patient satisfaction and customer service is always going to be the #1 thing. Okay, so do not travel if your customer service is not up to par. And my customer service, I will admit, in this situation probably was not up to par, but at the same time my knowledge for the situation was not where it had needed to be, because I shouldn't have had this patient. So to kind of just divvy back, and so you guys kind of understand the points, because I do have a habit of rambling. If you don't feel comfortable with the nurse manager, don't take the assignment. If you don't feel comfortable with the patient, don't take the assignment. Don't take the patient. You know, as a nurse, you have the right to refuse an assignment. You do. And so if you don't feel comfortable with those things, don't take the assignment. If you're not confident in yourself, if you don't trust your gut, if you don't listen to your gut, don't travel. Period. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding negative right now, but a negative situation happened, but I want to be as transparent as I can, because I am a firm believer in trying to learn from other people's mistakes, and hopefully you guys will learn from my mistake. So my next mistake, like I said, was taking a patient that I didn't feel comfortable with and that I really believe shouldn't have been on the floor. Another thing, hold on, let me get my phone, is when I say feel comfortable on the floor, I would give that about a 2 to 4 week period. If you're on a 13-week assignment, within the first 2 weeks, you should probably already know the codes to get into the par stock, the codes to get into the nutrition room, stuff like that. You should know that, so you're not continuously asking people what it is, or at least have it on somewhere where you can easily access it, like on the back of your badge, something like that, to where, you know, you're not constantly having to ask somebody or wait for somebody to walk by and open it for you. So I would say in the first 2 to 4 weeks, in the first 2 weeks, you want to feel comfortable with that. In the first 2 to 4 weeks, you want to have you a really good routine set. Now, don't get me wrong, this is nursing, baby. So you can make a plan, and them plans can fall through every single night. But as long as you have a good routine that helps you with your time management, then okay, you need to have that down within the first 2 to 4 weeks, so they're not looking at you crazy. Another thing is, whenever let's go back to being confident in yourself. Another issue I had was I was constantly asking I was so uncomfortable, and I second guessed myself so much that I was constantly asking the charge nurse, well, is this right? Or can I do it this way? Or is this okay? Like, it was like I knew that it was okay and it was right, but I always needed that second person to validate that for me. And I can't say that you can't be like that as a nurse, because it's fine when you're a new nurse to be that way. But if you're still second guessing yourself and you still need that constant validation, you need somebody to hold your hand, traveling is not for you, baby. Traveling is not for you. And the thing is that if you're someone like me and you're probably way too humble and you don't trust yourself, then it's not that you don't have the knowledge or the skills. It's just that you don't want to believe in yourself enough to understand that you really got it. You really got it. So let's just all take a minute, take a deep breath, and tell ourselves, you got it. You got it. You know what you know. My mom always tells me, like, you might not know what you don't know, but you know what you know. So at least stand firm and stand confident in what you do know. The next thing is the customer service part. I had a patient complain about something that was not anything harmful to the patient, but more so just customer service related. I didn't get them something that they really felt like they should have, or that I should have went the extra mile to try to go and get. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. So, and I will take fault for that. I probably should have went a little bit harder to get this item for the patient, but I didn't. And you know, again, customer service is the number one thing to a lot of these hospitals. So they don't like patient complaints. And if you're a traveler, they're not going to put as much time into you. If you have a patient complain on you and you did something wrong, both of those things are like, no, let's just go ahead and get this bad apple out the bunch. Like, just go ahead and weed them out. And I'm not calling myself a bad apple. I really do think I'm a very smart nurse. I really do think that I'm a good nurse. I just have to stop second guessing myself, and I have to be willing to stand up for myself. And those are the things that I want you guys to really, really know and really, really get before you get out there and start traveling. Or if you're in the midst of traveling and you're kind of running into scenarios like this too, you got to get out of it. You got to snap out of it. We got to get out of it quick, because they will cut your contract. I had 4 weeks left in my contract, and now I'm looking for another. Well, I mean, again, I have a job. I stayed PRN at my old company, but now I'm looking for another contract, and I'm still trying to take what I learned at this one and move it to the next one. Another thing I want to tell you guys, this is probably one that some people might not want to hear, but it's just the honest to God truth, and it's pertaining to being an African American nurse. You're going to have to learn how to assimilate. I personally have a hard time assimilating. I'm not gonna say I have a hard, maybe that's not good. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know, but it doesn't bother me to work with Caucasian people. I get along with anybody, but it bothers me to be the only black person on the unit. That is a problem, you know? But depending on where you go, if you go to these small rural towns, because the places that pay are sometimes these small rural towns that you haven't ever heard of, and there aren't very many black people. And if that's the case, you have to learn to play the game, and you have to learn to assimilate to these people. But you also have to be prepared to not be accepted. Everybody does not like black people. Everybody is not going to change their opinion on black people for you. So if this is the case, and either you're going to have to, if you are in a situation where you find yourself being one of very few, or in my situation, the only black nurse on a unit, I suggest that you learn to assimilate, baby, and learn to really get along with those people, and learn to kind of just ignore the hidden racism, or sometimes it's not so hidden, sometimes it's just in your face. Ignore it and get on with it and get your paycheck. But if you are like me and those types of things make you feel uncomfortable, and it's hard for you to not say anything to anybody, I suggest you don't work there. I suggest you go somewhere that's a little bit more your speed, where the people are your kind of people. Go where you are celebrated, not where you are tolerated. That's my motto all 2022, baby. And that goes for work too. So this is no smear to the hospital or to any of the people that work at that hospital, because I am one of those people. I'm a very humble person, and I will definitely take responsibility for the things that I did. However, some of the things that happened, I know that I probably would have been given another chance, or I would have been heard. My voice would have been heard had I either been at a different hospital, or had I been a staff nurse. Again, because whenever you're a traveler, they're not going to waste too much time on you getting it right, because the market is very saturated with travelers right now. There's always another travel nurse waiting for your job, baby. So, you know, you got to get out. You got to get to these places and act right. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of contracts everywhere, because everybody's quitting staff. But at the same time, it's still an abundance of travel nurses right now. So you got to go in. You got to know what you're doing. You got to act like you know what you're doing. Feel like you know what you're doing. And do what you're supposed to do when you get these travel contracts, because it is very, very easy to lose them. Right now, they're canceling contracts due to low census. Right now, since there is low census and they're trying to get rid of travelers, or like cut back on the amount of travelers that are working at these facilities, they're looking and they're nitpicking for certain things, okay? And it's very easy for them to just say it's a safety issue. They have the right to cancel you. These are at-will contracts. These are at-will employers, so they can fire you at any given moment. But if they think that it's a safety issue, honey, then they can fire you right there on the spot without ever even like listening to you. You know what I mean? With no reason, no cause. I guess you get what I'm trying to say. Like, so just, y'all, just be careful out here. Protect your nursing license. And, you know, just, again, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. Go where you're appreciated. You know, because there's some hospitals you go to and they're just glad that you showed up for the day. That's it. But, you know, there's some hospitals. And another thing, I'm sorry to kind of be rambling. Not only was I the only African-American staff nurse, or nurse on the floor, but I was also only one of 2 travelers. You know, this place needed help, but not that much help, you know. So if you're going to go somewhere that is I don't want to say travel friendly, because this hospital, it treated me well. Like, this hospital was cool. The hospital was cool. But when I say travel friendly, I mean the nurses on the floor appreciate travel nurses, or aren't going to give travel nurses more work because they're travel nurses, you know. Because on top of me feeling kind of uncomfortable because I was the only black person, I also couldn't gauge whether or not, you know, certain people were treating me differently because I was black, or because they felt like I was a traveler, and since I'm a traveler, I should get these assignments, or I should get more patients than anybody else. Because there were situations, again, I was working on a PCU floor, and there were situations where every single nurse would have 4 patients, but I would have 5. Every night that I worked, when this certain charge nurse on day shift would make, the nighttime assignment, every time she made the assignment, I would, and if anybody was going to get 5 patients, it was going to be me off top. Lanice is going to get 5, and then if anybody else has to get 5, because we might be short a nurse, then we'll go and see who else can get 5. But we're always going to give Lanice 5 because she's the traveler. At least that's how I felt. But see, in her head, I'm not sure, because I didn't approach her, because I was trying to be nice and trying not to pull the race card and trying not to pull the traveler card. I kind of told myself to just make it through. Well, maybe she gave me the 5 patients because these are the 5 easiest patients. You know, I would kind of just, you know, I make excuses for people, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. So that's what I did to kind of just push myself through and to stop myself from complaining. Because, again, I didn't want to complain. So, I'm sorry if I rambled on. I kind of wanted this video to not really be as much as an explanation as to what happens to my contract, but just so I wanted to also be what I learned from it, and because that's what I want you guys to take from the video. So with that being said, I really think I said everything, guys, and my dog is getting on my nerves, and I want to make it to my running group tonight. So I'm going to head out, and hopefully I'll post this video in the morning. Again, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, y'all, because I give you weekly vlogs, and I give you nursing information, and I give you lifestyle information. So, you know, if you're into any of those things, please subscribe. Please, 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 please. Please check out some of my other videos. I think I'm a pretty interesting person. I think I got some good content. And other than that, like, subscribe, comment, send this to any of your friends that you think might enjoy me too. And I hope that you enjoyed me. And I'm gonna head out now. Peace. Ugh. Shit.